it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it.
And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. I'm a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it. And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma.
Welcome back to another great episode of Security Halt Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Denny Caballero, and today I am joined by Ruben Ayala, the creator of Triple Nikel. Not the unit, but inspired by the men of that great unit. It's a clothing brand, which, and I'm not trying to throw any shade out there, unlike a lot of clothing brands that are out there from our community as veterans, this one promotes actually being unified in a cause, actually being part of a greater community, not isolating and separating ourselves, but coming together. And that is something we need in our community. So, Ruben, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. And it's always good to talk to a fellow brother.
Yeah. Tell me about your origin story. Sort of like if this is a Marvel movie, tell me how this project came about, and from all the way from back in the day as a regular active duty service member to where you're at right now in the moment.
Yeah, so my origin story begins, I'd say, in the Caribbean, man. I'm from Puerto Rico. That's where I was born and raised. So my journey is a lot different than somebody, who came in from Pennsylvania, who's got that deep-rooted sense of, your traditional patriotism, if you will. So mine is coming with that Caribbean flavor, uh, that rich history that we have in Puerto Rico, and bringing that with me. Speaking speaking English as a second language, joining the army, going through the ranks, uh, going into SF, seeing what that is like, uh, going back into the civilian world, relearning that, and then going into business. So that's my story just spans through just a bunch of different paradigms, man. That is no different from other people. So I'm just here to tell that part of it.
Yeah. No, it's vital to share the story of our entrepreneurs that are coming from the veteran community, because I think that we have this understanding that as soon as we get out, we can just settle and not chase our dreams. And I'm seeing that now more than ever with our own cohort of individuals that are starting to get back out into the civilian world. Look for the safe, look for what's, the low hanging fruit, the thing that I can definitely get, versus going after your dreams. And I want people to understand that there are systems in place, there are people, there are organizations out there that will help you take that dream, that small concept, and start building and working on it, because you owe it to yourself to go out there and maximize your potential. Our communities need people that are driven and inspired and have passion to go after their big dreams. We don't need people to just come out in the civilian world and just say, you know what, this is comfortable. I'll be comfortable here. And that's something that I definitely see in your brand and your initiative, that this wasn't something that was the easy road. It wasn't the easy road out. And that's something that we need to get more people aware of. Like, go after your dreams, stand up for what you want to do, and be creative. The creative drive and being artistic is not something that is definitely flourishing or being told by our senior officers and leaders to be at, for us to explore and try to do.
Yeah, no doubt, I agree. And it's like the old adage when I was going to high school back in the 90s, back in 80s, 90s. The measure of success is you graduate, you go to college, you graduate, you get a job, you get married, you buy a house, you have some kids, and your kids have kids, and man, you die. You can retire and then you die. And that's the measure of success when you talk to a career counselor. You go into the army, you do your 20 years or the Air Force, whatever. You get a GS job, you retire. Now you got two retirement checks, you die. And that's the old paradigm that when I was serving, that's the track record of success. And For me, that is not necessarily what I wanted to do with my career, and that's not the legacy that I wanted to leave my children. At the end of the day, when I take my breath. So you're absolutely correct. There's a lot of different ways to skin the cat for guys and girls who are getting out of the military, and just because you go into the GS system, that doesn't mean it's a bad thing. It takes all types to make the world go around, definitely. But we are very well suited to come out here and crush it if we just give ourselves the opportunity to do it.
No. And when it came for your specific dream, your specific mission, where did that come from? Was it always in a clothing brand? Was it always that little thing in the back of your head, like, man, like this is something I want to do? How did that spark start? Where did that drive come from?
Good question, man. So January 1st, 2020, Ruben Ayala had no yearnings, no ambition to create a clothing company. I I actually looked at clothing companies as one of those things that was a very saturated market for veterans because man, you throw a stone and everybody's got a t-shirt company. And
Everybody.
the reason for that is, yeah, man. And the reason for it is because it's easy. It's a barrier that's easy to enter. So prior to starting Triple Nickel, I was already a business owner. I own also Healthy Vending San Antonio, which we have vending machines, markets throughout the region, and we sell healthy food. And that's what I was doing. When the pandemic hit, it hit us hard, specifically in the restaurant industry, self-service oriented businesses. And it caused me to just sit down and be home with my kids and take a look at what was going on.
Yeah.
And up to that point, I really detached myself from the veteran community, with the exception of the guys that I always talk to, because I just melded back into civilian life, man. So with all of the stuff that was going on leading up to the 2020 elections, the division in the country, what I started to see from a lot of my friends and people within our community was a lot of hate. What I started to see from a lot of these t-shirt companies was marketing built around division,
Yep.
and the really I saw a guy with a shirt that said throw punch. I don't remember what company it was, but
I
when
I know the company because I've
when
seen it, and I'm like, what are you doing, man?
my kid is like, yo, what's a throw punch, dad? And and at that point, I realized that, my son, he's gonna get older and he may want to go into the military. And for me, going back to your question of the origin story, is say he does want to be a Green Beret one day, or he wants to be a Navy SEAL or something cool, something that's cool on TV. Who are his mentors at that point? It's going to be Matt Best, or it's going to be Thor, or it's going to be, whoever they put on TV. And no shade on those guys, but none of them look like me, and they don't represent the values necessarily that I, want my kids to have. So at that point, I knew I had to do something, and I wanted to relay a story that you don't have to be this way. If you're a veteran, look, man, you served, you did great stuff for your country. Go back and be a civilian, but you don't have to be this ultra violent person that leans one way. If you can be the greatest recruitment tool without telling somebody you're gonna throw punch them. So to me, as already being a business owner, I realized that the best way to do it was to create a t-shirt company because that's what everybody wears. And I just saw a gap in the market, man. Just to be brief, I saw a gap in the market, and the gap in the market was this: most veteran companies were marketing a specific image, and nobody was addressing the other side of it. And and I felt that the only guys who could do that were guys who came from the soft community, who'd been there, who'd done that. Because if you were in a soft skilled MOS type of unit or whatever, and you come out trying to display this, those guys would just jump all over. And
100%.
for us, all of my partners are all SF guys, and we've been all over the place. So who's gonna tell us no? Nobody.
Exactly.
So that's that's just the position that we took, man, and it was a gamble. And given the success we've seen in less than 2 years, the gamble was the right one.
That was it, I couldn't agree more with everything you just said. And I want to touch back on a couple of things you said. The identity of, like, when we look at superheroes or we look at Hollywood movies that display us, the only time I saw a Latino friggin' idol growing up in an action movie was, doing something army cool, was friggin' the guy that played the sniper in Clear and Present Danger, Ding Chavez. I'm like, oh shit, okay. And then years later, it was 2018. John Leguizamo did a play on HBO Max, or no, it wasn't on HBO Max first. He released it, but it was talking about Hispanic heroes, putting identity out there for us to understand. Like, I'm Panamanian. I ain't never seen anybody but Ruben Blades on Predator 2 being like, I'm a proud Panamanian fighter or warrior. I'm like, it just isn't out there. And then when we join this community of SF and Seventh Group, it's like, oh shit, here we go. Like, everybody, all the dudes that you're looking up to, all the Sergeant Majors, are, no offense, you're not looking at Sergeant Major Johnson, you're looking at Sergeant Major Alvarez. You're looking at all these freaking hard hitting dudes. Are like, oh shit, like, okay, here we go. These are our role models. These are the hard charging individuals. But then you get out and you start looking around, is why does everybody have a bad taste in their mouth with veterans? It's because the t-shirts, it's because the identity that's being sold to guys, they want that community. They want the community they haven't had since they were in 82nd or in 3rd ID. And now there's a company, again, not throwing any shade, but there's a company out there that's giving you a brand, giving you a saying that's moto and really hard charging. And you see all your buddies like, yeah, civilians don't get it because that's just offensive shit. So, of course, they don't want to come talk to you. And you're like, yeah, fuck you. No, man. You're no different than the guy that went out there and worked a 9-to-5 to support his family. You're part of the same tribe. You're coming into a world where he's mastered it. You could be best friends. He can help you get that job. But because you want to identify with this very small niche group that's exploiting you, now you're like, yeah, this is my brand. No, man, it's just a bad t-shirt and it's not appropriate. But you look at your brand and you look at your recent production for the Sergeant Cash. Like, that's an American hero. That's somebody that we need to promote. And it's done in a way that it's marketable, fashionable, and it brings somebody from our community, our soldiers community, into the civilian world where people are like, hey man, I know that dude. Yeah, that's badass. Like, that's something we need to celebrate. And we're not sitting here and figuring out ways that we can integrate better with our society. And the things that you're doing, that matters. It sells to both, and then both different tribes can realize, like, okay, like, we have a commonality. You're not an asshole wearing a t-shirt that says throat punch.
Yeah, man. No, spot on, man. And to touch base on the cash shirt, that was, for us, that was a passion project. We've been working with his family, particularly his sister, who's the head of his estate, for months, trying to get what it looks like. But the bottom line is, we have a responsibility, and we sell more than t-shirts. T-shirts is just an easy medium, or hats, whatever. Clothing is an easy medium to just tell a story. And
Yeah.
really, that's our charge within Triple Nickel, is how do we best tell a legacy from those seldom unheard? And Cash is just one of those stories. And when we got this deal to go into Kohl's nationwide, to me, that was the golden opportunity to say, okay, what is our main effort? What is it that we are going to, who is the point man? Who is the number one man in the door? What's going to make the biggest impact? And for me, that was a no brainer. It was when selling the idea to a national brand to say, look, you have some generic shit. This is what you need. You need to tell a real story based on a real person that's going to impact people. And with the proceeds that we get from the shirt, for those who don't know, we're going to help the family stand up his foundation, and for us, that's a win.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, so I'm really excited about that, man. Appreciate
that's
you
amazing.
asking about it.
Yeah, no, it's I think when all of us um heard about the final decision, it's like, wow, like it's taken that long. Like the amount of support and rallying the entire nation could have been doing in the long run. Again, like we could have had and not in an exploitive way, but we could have had such a defining moment in celebrating and really honoring his legacy. But it came in the news one day, then it went right back away, and it's like, fuck, man, like this dude is everything that our servicemen and women want to be. If that moment, if you have to act upon a moment like that, but we didn't take the opportunity to be like, this is an American hero. And I'm not saying, like I said, we don't need to make it such an exploitive thing, but we didn't celebrate it like we should have. We didn't bring it up like, hey man, it's taking this long for this to happen. Let's put some emphasis on the story. Let's show everybody what it truly means to be the guy that goes back in time and time again to save his guys, and an Iraqi, like an interpreter. Like,
Yep. No, you're spot on, man. And what America needs now more so than ever, man, is heroes. They need good news stories, and you're correct. He had his 15 minutes of fame. It wasn't even minutes, 15 seconds
yeah,
when the family received the medal in February, and it was gone. Snap of a finger. And it happens to a lot of these Medal of Honor recipients. We have one here who just received the medal, Master Sergeant Rodella from he was in fifth group in Vietnam. He just received the medal
yep,
a few years ago, and he lives on the south side of town, in the hood, and he's forgotten about. You know, just a few guys go in and check on him, and you would never know the guy is a Medal of Honor recipient, and it's sad, man. So we just need more people to focus on that versus everything else we just talked about.
yeah. And the story, it gets lost. There's two camps. There's people that want to understand and give a voice to equality, to being able to understand what it means to like really embrace everybody. And then there's the people that feel like that's taken away. Yeah, you're taking away. Like, no, man, you're not taking away. You're adding to. It's simple math. Let's celebrate all of us. But they feel like they have to be attacking every attempt to bring and modernize this idea of like, hey, this is our entire country. This is who we are. We're not just this. There's a wide variety of what it means to be a hero. Like let's celebrate that. Let's cover all these bases that we haven't done. And people just get so adamant about having to protect or go against a movement. It's like, man, like if you just sit down and just look at what's really happening, you'd be like, oh, hell yeah, I'm about this. But you're letting like a soundbite in the news just flare your anger and just send you on a wild storm of hate and vitriol online. It's like, stop, think about it, man. Like this is a bigger thing. It's about all of us. It's about understanding what it really means to be an American. And then we can have all the support where it needs to be. Like, because we've lost this idea of like, we're together in this. Like, it's so divisive now. But there's stories ingrained that can bring us together, yet we're just like, nah, fuck it. Move it along. We don't want to hear this positivity.
Oh, no doubt, man. When we first launched Triple Nickel, I can't tell you how many guys in our community. I got quite a few DMs discouraging me from starting the company, or
Really?
just as, oh yeah, man, it was nuts. I didn't understand. I mean, I understand it. It's the whole reason that I started it. And but I was just really surprised with the individuals that reached out to me, really being negative about what it was that we were trying to do. And one day I'll tell it all. Today's not the day, but I can.
Completely understand.
There's plenty of organizations out there who would not support us because of the stance that we took, and it's surprising, man. Like I said, one day, man, we're gonna put it out there because people need to know. There's a lot of charlatans out here, and it's pretty sad, man. But we, alas, we keep moving forward.
It does surprise me. At the core of every Green Beret, you're supposed to be the guy that can walk into any meeting in any culture and be able to say, okay, I got to be able to get this side to talk to this side so we can come together and we can move on with this plan. So I might not be able to understand everything that you want, but I can relate. I can find common ground. I can build a bridge. Building a bridge and coming to an agreement is something that it's deeply ingrained in this whole concept of UW, that it gets battered and battered and battered in our heads, like by, with, and through, by, with, and through. Always find a way to make a connection. Keep the communications going. How are you going to excommunicate people in your own community that are trying to do something for that? You might not agree with every part of the cause, but damn it, like they're trying to do something. Now, I'd rather have you stand on the sidelines and not participate. That's better for me. I'll feel better about it if you don't get involved. It's like, no, man, like I don't have to agree with everything, but I can look at you and see who you are, see what you're a brother to me, and support you and say, hey, I fucking support you. Let's get you going. Because at some point, you're going to come back and you're going to give me the same support. I'm like, hey, man, I got you. I might not support everything, but I support you. You're not hurting anybody. I got your back. Why is that so hard? Why is it so hard to see our brothers thrive outside of the regiment as civilians, as entrepreneurs? Like, man, like get over it. Move on. You're going to need us at some point. You're going to need us at some point. Get back to the understanding of like, you're still a Green Beret. You're still somebody I support and love and care about deeply. Yeah, man, let's make this happen. How can I help you in your dreams? That's not crazy to me. It doesn't seem crazy.
Yeah, yeah, and no doubt, all those, a lot of those things you said are true. But on the flip side too, I can say I've had some really great support from some of our SF brothers along this journey. And if you actually go to Cole's website, some of the models that we use are guys from the regiment that are here locally.
Hell
And
yeah.
they're also business owners that I've maintained really close contact with, like 18 Alpha Fitness, Kevin Edgerton out of First Group, Patrick. He was in seventh group with us as a 18 Delta. He's a mortgage broker with Orange Mortgage here, Patrick Brenneman in San Antonio. So,
Yeah.
and then again, my co-founders, man, Green Berets, man, are really well suited to be entrepreneurs, given everything that you just said, because we are so versatile and so just we're like water, man, and
Yeah.
that's what it takes to bear the grit of being an entrepreneur. So yeah, it's been fun and really rewarding amongst all the other bullshit that we talked about too.
Yeah. The good comes with the bad, but I feel like if you're able to come out of the service and address mental health, physical injuries, and get back to a point where you're no longer flared up at 150% with pain, you can tackle a lot more. I know that at my worst, I couldn't take a bad day. At my worst, when I wasn't healthy, when I was still going through treatment, man, I felt like one little thing off. Like, man, this day's over, man. It's fucking done. I can't deal with this. But now I understand, and being able to like sit here and help other people is like, hey, before you get in this journey of figuring out your next step, take time off, get healthy, go do the things that you know you need to do. If that's a treatment center, do it. If that's going into intensive therapy, do it. It's before you get started in that next endeavor, get healthy, get back to a baseline, which leads me to ask, what did you do coming out of the military to make sure that your next endeavors were successful as far as mental health, physical recovery? What were some of the first things you were focusing on?
Yeah, really good question, because everybody particularly in our community, comes out in a different state of mind, whether it be physical, emotional, or spiritually. So for me personally, I can really uh, empathize with where you were, at one point in your journey. And for me, I wanted to completely remove myself from the entire lifestyle. I spent a lot of time away. We were all on a very fast moving train, deployments after deployments, and I just wanted just to detach. And for me, what I thought the best thing to do was just to go to school. And I took advantage of the GI Bill. I applied to the executive MBA program at the University of Texas. I was accepted, and in that program, there was not many veterans. It was older people who were on the executive track, and I thought that that was a good place for me to look for mentorship, to look for the language that would help me ease back into society. That was really helpful. Two, physical fitness, which you mentioned, is key. If you look back of all the hard parts of your journey while you're in the military, if you really think about the essence of how you get through those things is your physical fitness, because your body bears a lot of shit when you are emotionally stressed, and physical fitness is a huge part of that. When you're not physically fit, you get tired, and then when you get tired, you make rush decisions, and when you make rush decisions, it creates poor results. So physical fitness was a very big part of that sustainment. And then reading, you have to stay mentally sharp. And for me, those three things, completely detaching, owning the fact that I am no longer in the military, I am now a civilian, was key. So for me, it was, quitting cold turkey and just immersing myself in the reality of what it was. I'm not going to identify myself as a Green Beret because it's just a hat,
Yep.
I'm not on a team no more. I'm not I'm not that guy. And that's what I had to look at myself in the mirror and say. And it was really helpful for me. But, for me, that worked. For somebody else, it may not.
Yeah, the identity part is huge, and that's something that I hear and see myself. I was lucky. I had a good core group of friends that had already been out of the military, and I'd been talking to and engaging, setting up that Discord channels and talking like, hey, tell me your process, what you're going through. And everybody said the same thing. Identity. Identity. Like I I started immediately working on that piece as soon as possible. And that's what I'm telling people right now. If you know that you're going to take the next step, your service is over, start that divorce process, because it really honestly felt like a divorce process. Just having to remove that pictures from like, I'm not looking at my pictures. I'm not looking at this. I'm not putting this, like, that's the wife and that's the life that was really abusive and toxic. I got to divorce it. And it's easier now looking back, being like, oh man, like it was challenging, but now it's like being able to talk to somebody. It's not the first thing, and I don't make that a priority because it's not the number one thing I do. It's not my life. It's something I did. It's a cloth. It's a piece of cloth. It's a uniform. It's something I'm proud of. But at the end of the day, there's a full road ahead of me, and there's so much more to life. And I see the guys are stuck to it. Like, I'll get out, but I'm gonna do contracting, and I'll and like, hey, you can't live. At least for me, I can't live a dual life. I can't say I'm this one thing, and I can't say that I'm still doing this. It's like, no, like, this is it. Like, this is who I am, and that's honestly like the best thing I could have gotten from my friends was working on that identity piece. Now, when you started going back to school, though, what was that culture shock like? Was it pretty easy? Because, I mean, it was an MBA. It's not like going back to like undergraduate level. What was that like? Because I know everybody wants to get that aspect of you. It's always on somebody's, oh, you're Special Forces, Navy SEAL, right? It's like, no.
Yeah, it was tough, man. I purposely didn't tell my classmates what the first day everybody goes around the circle and introduces themselves. And I purposely never told people what I did because there is that intrigue.
Yeah.
And there is that expectation for you to be X. And I don't know what their expectation of X is. And they may be disappointed. Like, where's the dude with the big muscles, a big beard, and lots of tattoos? You're not him, and I don't believe you. So,
Yeah.
uh, but I tell you, man, it was really good to just talk to people and get a sense of what their interpretation of the veteran community is, and understanding when it was really cool. I talked to one executive who told me blatantly he doesn't like to hire veterans because of everything that we talked about. They're so rigid. And, I got to get into the mindset of what people really think about us from the other side.
Yeah.
And it was almost like I was a mole. So, and it helped me just shed that personality. But again, a lot that's not for some people. Some people need that in their life. I got a lot of buddies who I serve with in group and when I was in the infantry that they need that, and that is their identity. And if they don't have that, you already know what those results are,
Yeah.
and it's not good. So it's hard to sit here, man. It's kind of like when you're looking at investing. If I'm pretty sure if I met Dave Ramsey in real life, the dude would have a heart attack with the way I move about doing my business because I don't do stuff in cash. Like to me, that's a bullshit way of living. Like you
Yeah.
gotta live, you know. But some people need that regimented lifestyle to invest their money and really get their shit together. And I think that with what you and I are discussing right now, our methods of cutting the identity cold turkey, and that won't work for some guys and gals.
Yeah.
They need that identity in their life, and that's cool, man. Because bro, we need those contractors out there. Because don't call me. I'm not answering the phone, man.
Man, you could perfect opportunity for this. I was sitting there checking my messages, and God bless this gentleman's heart. See, message, it's one of those cold call emails like, hey, we got this contract opening up, blah, 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 space and time. Are you interested? And I'm like, no, I am not. Thank you very much. Not my thing. It's like, no, man, like I will always, always, always support my brothers, the regiment, and always love everything I did. But it's not my driving force as I move forward. It's something that I'm going to be proud to tell my kids about someday, God willing, if I have them. But it's not something I'm going to always, I'm not going to carry that team plaque with me everywhere I go. That stays in a very amazing place in my home. It's in my heart. Those brotherhoods are always going to be there. But oh man, like there is more out there. There's a life to be led. And that's the beauty of it. You go back to a community of other people and you help them establish a better life. You get integrated. It's not about just being off on our own. No civilization, no culture ever had its warriors separated and just distant from everybody. No, you have to come back and integrate and be part of the society, be part of the greater good. And that's why I see your clothing brand, and it's more than just a shirt. It's a brand. It's something that can compete with the negative messages on these shirts that are out there of division. And it's not really funny, to be honest. They're not all that great. They hit you in the face with this idea of like, oh, that's all I am. That's all. This is what I'm supposed to be. Like, no, man, I'm more. I expect my brothers and sisters to want to be more. And that's why I understand that the clothing is important, but I see the brand that you're developing, and that's the greater thing. Where do you see the brand growing and developing into?
So good question, and two parts of that. The first part, where do we see ourselves growing into? We're already going that route. So if you look at, because we do a lot with music, so we love music. We a lot of our styles are inspired by hip hop. That's something that my founders and I we really love. So if you look at what we've done as our freshman album, then we've gone platinum, no doubt. We're platinum and we're touring. That's that's our focus right now. Is how do we best let the nation know we've arrived. This is who we are. Go buy our stuff.
Yeah.
Moving forward in the background, we are recording that next album and laying the blueprint for that. And what that looks like is, we continue to obviously expand distribution through other retail outlets. But, really what's next? Because you what you expect to see from an artist is evolvement. If
Yes.
every album sounds the same, eventually you're not gonna listen to them no more. So there has to be an evolution that's involved with it. So what's really cool too is next week I'll be in Las Vegas at the Military Influencer Conference, and I am one of the speakers there, and I'll be on a panel on stage with Grunt Style and Zero Foxtrot, which are
Yep.
two of the major players in this apparel market that we're discussing. So a lot of these questions are going to be thrown at us, and it's polar opposites of what we're doing. So I'm looking forward to that, to have a conversation as to what really drives those brands to do what they do. But to answer your question, what comes next is there has to be an evolution of what we do.
Yeah.
We've put a statement out. We're starting to tell those stories, but there has to be an evolution in how we do it, and continue to give opportunities to our fellow brothers and sisters who want to be in a position where we are. That's as much that I'm at liberty to say without my partners beat me up, man.
Completely understand. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, you've closed a deal with Kohl's. It's going to be, and I'm telling you right now, we're gonna definitely snag some hats because I wear ball caps everywhere. But man, it is an opportunity for us to help support something that truly identifies with. I feel every SF guy out there, because we don't wear the grunt style. We don't wear the foxtrot stuff. That's just, it's just not us. It's not.
Man, you know what? And what's crazy to me is I'm not gonna say it, but yeah, I'll be.
Don't worry, I
what,
can edit it.
so what's crazy to me is you look at the CEOs of these companies, man, and they are not, either they're not veterans themselves,
Nope.
or they served but a very short time during peacetime, um, way prior to GY.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to me to see organizations headed by people who have not spent their entire adult lives in this war that we've been in. Number one. Number two, the messaging and the marketing that they put out is for a specific core niche. And I totally get it, because if they totally deviate from that, they're going to lose sales. It's
Yeah.
something that's been created for them. But it goes back to what I was saying is, you have to have, as a brand, there has to be some form of evolution. I believe every good brand has it, and that's what I would like to see from those veteran-owned companies out there. And that's my challenge: is what's your evolution, man?
Yeah.
If every quarter you're putting out some form of new hate, or you're just gonna remix
Yeah.
a brand logo that's already out there, you're gonna take the Pillsbury Doughboy and put some night vision goggles on them and a gun on them. That shit's whack, man.
It is. It's
I haven't seen that shirt out there, but I'm sure I've given some ideas already.
Yeah, we just we're putting money in their pockets right now. Somebody's writing that up, and they're gonna stencil that in. I already see the shirt and everything.
Yeah, man, call me a hater, but y'all know where to find me.
But it's true. The other thing that I don't see in a lot of these companies is they're not putting. They say they're for the veterans. They say they're doing great things, but there's a mental health crisis, and it starts with what you put on and identify with. It really does. It is not going to get better until we address what we consume, what we buy, what we put on, and say that we are. That's just the bottom line. That's the truth. If I want somebody to understand that vulnerability is a strength, that it's okay to have emotions, that it's okay to come down and sit down with a therapist, because a big portion of what we do is peer-to-peer support. Mental health and bridging that gap and getting guys to talk to somebody is a lot easier when you don't have to combat the strategy of hate and division that they're wearing on a shirt that says F you, civilian. It's like, no, man, like, let it go. There's nothing wrong with being a civilian. There's nothing wrong with, what you did in the military. Like, let it go. As soon as you drop that mask and that armor, it's so much easier to get somebody to talk about, like, yeah, man, like, and I heard it from guys that come and talk. It's like, I wear it because then I see somebody wearing the shirt, and then I have a connection, and then I can talk to another veteran. Well, shit, wouldn't it be easier if you just go to Triple Nickel, get one of their shirts is actually like in style, and then you can have that commonality with not only a veteran, but somebody just off the street and be like, oh, fucking, I love your shirt, man. Yeah. Fucking Triple Nickel, right? Yeah. Like, that's the type of community that we need to start building. Because as long as we continue to just market specifically for this one demographic, this one idea, we're not helping anybody. And we're making it, I do believe it creates a problem when you're trying to get people to be vulnerable and talk and share with others in a peer-to-peer support group or talking to a therapist. And that's just the bottom line. That's the truth.
What you just said is everything that me and my close group of guys that I speak to every day say. And you are 100% spot on, man. It's a crisis that we are perpetuating. People always say self-licking ice cream cone.
Yep.
The civilian populace doesn't understand what that means. I've taken that out of my vocabulary, but that is a self-licking ice cream cone. With products like that, we perpetuate the 22 a days, the push-ups, the
Yep.
the stigma that we're all damaged goods, and that is a problem, man. Because I I hate to say this, but I think we create the crisis to continue to push business,
Yes.
whether it be in the profit or for nonprofit space, because you know what, we're never going to solve the suicide problem, because if we do, there's going to be a lot of businesses that go out of business.
Yeah. It's the one thing I've seen is when you have a personal connection where it's somebody that's, because I never saw, when I was at my worst, I was still on my team. I was just sucking down the pain. I wasn't doing anything. Then I had a complete mental breakdown. Everything broke down. Now I'm in a mental treatment center because I didn't want to take my life. I actually came to clarity, told my therapist, hey, like, nah, I got to go somewhere. But through that entire process, I didn't have another Green Beret that was willing to say, hey, come here. Chief, you're all right. You're good. We got you. So I go through this entire place. I go through everything and realize the human factor really isn't the most important thing. Because as soon as you get healthy, as soon as you realize, oh, fuck, like, this is a bad mindset, I need to start putting more into myself, into my wife, into my healing recovery, you realize you can't do it in the job. So then it's guys like me that go out there and start reaching out to other Green Berets, other service members, says, hey, man, come on, there's a better way. But once you get them to the other side, they don't want to go back. They want to put more time and effort into their own recovery. And if you're giving somebody tools like meditation, mindfulness, go to therapy and talk about it, do MDR, yes, take medications you get from a doctor, But if you're giving people a multitude of modalities to try out and figure out, pretty soon they're going to realize they have a choice. There's a choice to live a better life. I don't have to continue on this path of destruction. I can heal and recover. You can recover from PTSD. You can get better if you put in the work. But they don't want people to put in the work. They want it to be the easy button. Continue struggling, continue staying attached to medications, and we'll just keep the system going. Because believe it or not, it's not about treating to recover. It's about treating the pain and keeping you going. And that's the sad reality.
Yes, spot on, man. Spot on. I can't agree with you more, man. It's sad some of the things I see, but I also see a lot of guys and girls, man, who, like you said, if you put in the work, you can get better, and that's always a joy for me to see folks recover and surrounding themselves with either organizations or individuals that do care.
Yeah.
But that is a problem, man. We propagate the problem by putting these negative messages, images
Yes.
out, man, and and it goes back to the comment of when you have heads of these companies that never been there, that's tough, man. Because
Yeah.
if they're just making money, how do you convince a guy who hasn't been on patrol, who's never put their buddy in who's never had to put their teammate in a body bag, who's never had to talk to his buddy's Gold Star widow, who's never had to attend a funeral? How do you relay that to a head of a company who's propagating that shit?
Yeah.
Hard or bored, who doesn't care except the bottom line, man.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's
That's
a reality. That's a reality. You're
yeah,
never gonna be able to sit down and be like, hey man, you need to fire everybody that's doing your designing and everybody that's marketing for you. It's all wrong. Start from a clean slate. Here's what you need to really focus on. They're gonna be like, get the fuck out of my office. I don't even know how you got in here, brown kid. Get the fuck out of here.
yeah, man. It's but I'm looking forward to next week. I'm going to be sharing the stage with these guys. I'm sure we're going to have the opportunity to talk one on one, and that's one of my questions, man, because I do honestly want to know is what is the end state for having a design with a 7.62 round that says I want to be inside you. It
Yeah.
doesn't compute to me. It's not fun.
No. And they're gonna throw it back out. Like, what about all the other stuff in media? What about all the violence and everything? You don't get it, man. You don't get it. We're talking about a guy that just spent 15 years doing this, and he's got a lot of pain and a lot of hate. And you're gonna put that T-shirt on him, just continue that stuff. And I see him.
Yeah.
Like, but there's hope. There is hope. I can't tell you how much I appreciate your time for being here and for the message that you're putting out there, because this is a real veteran, a real entrepreneur. This is somebody we can look up to. Add this man, Ruben Ayala, to your lexicon of Puerto Rican heroes that you can look up to, kids, because this is what success and what hard work gets you. A clear understanding of your mission, your vision, and your purpose in life, not just walking around blowing in the wind. And we all could have done that. We all can do that. We can all go everywhere. But if you find the hard path and you find the right way to go about business, you got to take it. And I forget. I think it was Stephen Pressfield that said it. But is the bigger the dream, the bigger the shadow it's going to cast. Like, it's going to seem impossible. And I know that for some days that seem impossible to you, but to all of us out there starting our journey, what is something you can tell us about the process of when you were almost about to quit or something, like your worst day? Can you tell us a little bit about that and what got you to keep going?
Yeah, I'll give you a recent vignette, and that was as we were loading up the truck to ship everything out to all of the Coles distribution centers. My business partner, Chris McPhee, who's an E8 from retired from Third Group, he and I had been up for 3 days straight prepping this entire order, and we had like 1,013 boxes we got pushed out to all these stores nationwide, and we had not eaten anything. We've just been just grinding. And we have this 53-foot truck semi that's just there, and the guy's like, "No, man, you cannot use a pallet jack. You can't palletize this truck. You have to hand load it, and we have to inventory it as we go." So it's like 9 o'clock at night. We're just tired, and we're loading this thing from the floor all the way to the very top. And I look at Chris and I said, "Man, I'm tired, man. I don't know if we can do this. This is hard." And he's my Ranger buddy, and he
Yep.
says, "Hey, man, we this is what you wanted, man. You better get the fuck up and blow this, this box up, right?" So he just got in my ass, and I'll be honest, I was tired, man. And
Yeah.
I had a moment of weakness because I was so tired. And I looked back outside of the trailer, and we had 14 more pallets to go. And the truck driver was just looking at his clock saying, "Hey, you're on the clock, man." So I really felt at that point like we were in a Ranger School Patrol, and they just called my roster number, and
You got to
Chris was there,
perform.
all right, man. So yeah, man, we've had many a nights like that. But as an entrepreneur, that there was so much at stake. I mean, you had the largest department retail store in the United States depending on this. And me as the head of the company saying, "I don't know if we can do this, man." But it took one guy to just say, "Snap the fuck out of it. This is what you wanted, Ranger. Get the fuck up and let's go." True
And the
story.
people out there are waiting for like this big monologue from like Chris Hemsworth. No, it doesn't happen like that. That shit never happened. It's
Nah,
your
man.
best friend on a team saying, "Suck it the fuck up and let's go."
It went down pretty much like that, man. I have no humility about. I mean, shit, man. I was on my ass, man. But it
Yeah.
took, and that's what it takes, man. It takes, you just need people in your circle that you can trust, that are gonna be in your ass when you're at your lowest. And I think that's true for any of us. Doesn't matter what your background is, man.
Yeah, Ruben, I can't thank you enough for today. I know I'm fired up. Keep me on my grind. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here, for providing your wisdom and your time to the audience. This has been great. Man, I am excited for what's coming next with your brand, and I'm about to throw it up on the website and start sending some hats to some of my friends. I really appreciate it, brother.
Dude, I appreciate your time, and by the way, I love Ruben Blades too. He's my second favorite artist.
Dude, I'm telling you, as a kid from Panama where nobody knows your country and you just walk out of the playground like, "Yeah, Ruben Blades, Predator 2, he's a cool Latin cop." They're like, what the
I
fuck?
love it. When he came out in that movie, man, when you were telling me that, I said, "Man, I gotta let him know." I was really excited. Nobody knew who he was. First, we got the same name too.
He's
But I
like,
always said it Blades. They're like, "Who the
Yeah.
fuck is that?" I'm with you,
telling
man.
you, if they can ever make a custom action figure, that's the guy I need.
He's the best.
Thank you so much. We'll see you.
Be-
Oh, wow, that was a good show, and I bet you can't wait for the next episode to drop, and I'll let you know something. It's coming real soon. But in the meantime, why don't you head on over to triplenickel.com and buy some new shirts or hats and share them with your friends and family, because that's what the new year's about, gratitude, showing it to everyone. So yeah, go to triplenickel.com and use our code, Security Out Podcast, for 15% off your entire order. Holy...